that whole omnichannel mix and strategy is really about leveraging the law of averages, getting out there, doing probably more with the same amount of money and investment that you have, increasing your whole ecosystem, and it's a rising tide. Right? So as users and good users, quality users come through, you will see a lift in all of the key points and key metrics that you're looking at in terms of measuring your analytics and marketing.
Welcome to Modern Automotive Marketing, the podcast where data meets strategy and dealerships turn insight into action. We're talking full funnel strategies, predictive insights, and real-world tactics that help dealers win in today's market. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining another episode of Modern Automotive Marketing Podcast, where I get to talk to, well, anybody and everybody I want to talk to when it comes to what does it actually take to do modern marketing in the automotive industry. And you guys are going to hear this a lot. I'm going to emphasize the word modern a lot. The reason I set out to do this podcast was I just think, as an industry, I'm just seeing way too many old, outdated, fragmented strategies out there. And I'm excited to put this together because I'm bringing some of the brightest and smartest people in the industry to really kind of put some spotlight on this and how we can make a difference. Now, speaking of the smartest and the brightest, I have a super cool guest with me today. I have Alex with me, who's the COO and co-founder of Prophecy Digital. Alex, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, Jason. How you doing, man? Love the intro. I did pay you to say that, didn't I?
Okay, yeah. All right.
No, it's good. I appreciate the compliment. Looking forward to the show, man.
Dude, I am too. And man, I mean, I think a lot of people use the word timely, like this is always timely, but it is timely. I've had the opportunity to work with hundreds, if not close to thousands of dealerships across the country and helping them with their operations and consulting with them on their marketing efforts. And I'm just going to say the total lack of strategy would be probably the best way to look at a lot of stuff out there. Now, hey, if you're watching and listening to this right now, I know you're not one of those because that's why you're watching and listening to this. But we're going to get into some cool strategy stuff. But here's what I like to do, Alex. I love kicking off these podcasts with a little origin story. Because I'm fundamentally fascinated. I don't think anybody just wakes up one day and goes, automotive.
Yeah.
That's why I'll go spend a career. So Alex, let's start there. How in the world did you get started in this crazy little world called the automotive industry?
Yeah, my older brother was working in a dealership at the time. I was 15. I loved the atmosphere, the camaraderie. I was big into sports in high school. And so I kind of saw that kind of relationship that these folks had on the floor. Started washing cars just to get involved. And then by the time I turned 16, got my driver's license, I was a transporter. At the time I was working in California, so I was driving wholesaled units, used cars, right? Some of them, and these weren't frontline ready, right? So I was driving these cars from LA to San Jose. And I was making sometimes 2 trips a day. So there and back. So I drive a car, drop it off, fly back, drive a car, drop it off, fly back, right? That's how I started. And then, of course, being involved in the dealership, I started to learn. I started to see where money was being made. I went into service right away. Started working the lanes there, and then worked my way over to variable. Boy, oh boy, I mean, years flew by quickly, and I ended up as a director of e-commerce for a large automotive group in Orange County. And then some folks came in and were like, "You should really travel around and talk about how you do what you do." And so I was pulled in as a consultant, kind of worked my way up. But I mean, I started in the industry. Oh my gosh. I'm going on year 15 now, I think. Actually, no, more than that. I mean, I started 2007.
Yeah. Hey, once you start measuring decades.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at the calendar. Oh my God. Yeah. 2007 was when I officially 2006 got started in it. And then,
dude, you're almost 2 decades into this. Is that insane to say that? Like,
it flies by. And I think anyone listening and is in the industry, every month is so hard. It really is. I mean, it's such an emotional roller coaster. Am I going to make it? Am I going to provide? Am I going to pay the bills? And then you get through it and and it just becomes this it's more than that. It just becomes a part of you and you thrive on it. And it's, you look down, 15 years have passed, and every year you're just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And then you just keep going and keep going. So I love the industry.
You have to be a little bit of a chaos junkie to be in this business for this long.
Yep.
But I also think you have to be kind of a challenge junkie. Like you want the challenge because to your point, I mean, it's almost monthly. It's like a new challenge coming out, right?
100%. You got to be willing to, perpetually climb mountains. It's like skydiving, right? It's like every month you're jumping out and hope your chute pulls open and
Oh, these
like with a good commission check. But it's second to none in terms of life skills. And I think most of the world outside of this vertical misses that. Interpersonal communication and skills, conflict management resolution, financing, sales, business development, service side, product side, supply chain, you name it. You're going to get experience into every facet. Environmental variables, OEM controlled versus franchise stores. Like you can't get a better education in terms of what it's like to be in business outside of automotive, in my personal opinion.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, you
Yeah.
really do touch a little bit of everything, and I think that's why people are kind of drawn to it. And I think that's ultimately why people get to stay, right? Because a lot of what I've learned here, I've been able to use outside of this vertical, and the strategies. And speaking of strategies, that's what we're going. By the way, guys, that's what today's big topic is going to be about. We are going to get into: is your strategy forward looking, or are you looking in the rearview mirror? And I would. I hate to say it, but I think it's true. Like for the majority of the industry, we're looking into the rear view mirror. And I'm going to say that, and Alex, I'm gonna start off kind of my question with you on this one is for me, I still see this very kind of archaic 15 plus year old marketing strategy of, channel check boxes. Let's start there for everybody out there watching and listening right now who don't necessarily understand like why this is a bad way, all right, to approach marketing. I'm going to start with that question, Alex. Why is it bad to have just a simple channel strategy? Because I think that's what majority of dealers out there do right now.
Yeah, I think early on, 13, 14, 15, let's call that early on. I think it was okay and acceptable to be present somewhere. This is when dynamic catalogs and inventory integrations and things started to become more relevant. It was exciting and new, akin to AutoBytel launching out, or as we discussed earlier, Auto Alert coming out and how that changed the sales process. But you can't nowadays with time fragmented. And I think the vast majority of people are hopping between platforms at a speed we have yet to see. The average human being is likely, I was looking at the statistics on it. It's like they're checking their TikTok account 11 times a day, their Instagram feed 17 to 18 times a day. They're on YouTube, they're on streaming, they're on Amazon shopping simultaneously, Instacart grabbing groceries. They're all over the place. And so you really, channel strategy meaning, and I like the way you said it, check the box. Just because you're present doesn't mean that presence is actually valued.
Thank you. That's exactly where I was going with this.
And as a content creator, like it is about content that matches the demographic and the audience segment that you're going after. And there are clear cut lines in the sand with demographics and platforms. And so you got to be able to adapt. And as a dealership, this is tough. You need an agency who's able to create the content that you need to execute through these channels without it costing you an arm and a leg.
It's a hefty strategy, but it's a strategy that, look, for anybody out there watching and listening, if you guys are really looking to capitalize every single dollar that you're spending in your marketing and not just check off the peripheral boxes, then this is your episode. And you better grab a notebook because we're going to take some notes. So the first thing I kind of want to get into is like, I see too many dealers, base their marketing decisions on, let's call last month's results, right? And maybe that for the most part, that is the optimization that I see kind of exist out there, right? Okay, well, we got more leads from this channel, so let's go ahead and we'll move dollars kind of around in between and out of the channels. And there's no predictive insights. And I think for maybe a lot of dealerships, they just don't know that this type of predictive modeling or insights is available for everybody out there that. And Alex, we'll go 101. Let's do that. Let's do predictive modeling and insights 101 for everybody out there watching, listening, and then we'll really kind of dive deeper into it.
You got to think of your business like a sound wave, right? These things move up and down. It's cyclical in nature. Everything really can be measured this way, from the rising and falling of the tides, lunar cycles, you name it, right? That sound wave that's in this logo right here on this part of the screen is why we call it that. So the 101 is this, with certainty that your business is going to go up on certain months, go down on other months, that the OEM incentive programs are going to hit each quarter on around the same time. Holidays are always the same time. So there are things, inputs that you can measure and look at to be able to better understand what your potential output would be for that month. What we've done is deduced a system to be able to map that, plan it, and then to be able to go out and predict it. Not unlike how people are doing right now. I mean, Jason, how many different platforms are there now where you can simulate the Monday Night Football 10,000 times, or who's going to catch what amount of pass yards? Like, we have the technology now. And I think the difficulty and where everyone is going, and it's going to be hard for folks to figure out, is how do you get an AI to be able to understand your business and deduce it down to a singular data point, and maybe some multiple data points, but to in a way where it can understand the ebbs and flows of your business. Right? It's not a linear trajectory anymore, and the digital journey is not linear. We all know it's scattered all over the place. You guys do it in your day-to-day lives, Jason. I'm sure you do too. So it's, how do you get your business deduced into a form that you can get it represented correctly and forecasted correctly? And we've spent years trying to do that. Go ahead.
And I think for everyone out there watching and listening right now, to be able to go down that path, and you guys have to fundamentally understand that over 90% of a customer's journey happens before they even show up to your dealership. So let's just start there. Let's just start with the kind of that fundamental understanding that, by the time they've reached your dealership, walked in, right, that is the last 10% of their actual journey, and the rest of it has happened already at this point. I think if you're a dealer out there and you're looking to create a forward-looking strategy, that's going to build momentum and reach buyers before they even raise their hand or submit a lead. God, I hate that word. That's a whole nother podcast. I won't.
No, if you want me to deep dive into that, I will. I'll be happy to. I've got.
I'm sorry. I'll do it real quick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. As an industry, the fact that we call someone filling out a form that's got a first name, last name, and an email address a lead, right, is ridiculous. I mean, there's not a vertical out there that would accept that as a lead. In fact, and maybe I'm dating myself. Okay, so when my dealership got their first dealer.com solution in 99 or 2000, something in that range, right? It wasn't called a lead. In fact, back then they were called inquiries. And at best, anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. I apologize.
No, you're good. Listen, I think what you're pegging on is something that we all need to talk about. Every vertical is designed in a similar way. We're all looking for immediate return on results. Jason, as you know, how long did it take you to get your podcast to resonate? Right? Content creation is literally the blocking and tackling. It's the 101. You've got to do it, continue, and be consistent. Every one of us is out there being held accountable and or measuring the accountability of their own operations by 3% of the entire ecosystem.
Exactly. Right. That's where all the money is being spent.
3% of the ecosystem submits a lead, and it's probably less now. And with CCPA and GDPR and privacy and compliance, let's call it 1%, right? What's going on with the rest? And in terms of that, the attribution of it is clean. It's understandable that the correlation is 1-to-1, lead, sell, easy to measure. However, for the 99%, let's call it 97% to be conservative, that aren't there doing it, to sit and say a singular ad was the responsible party for that sale, I think that's a disservice to the automotive men and women who are out there structuring the deal.
It's absolutely nuts, Alex. I mean, come on, like, we know this, like, and this is the fundamental big problem, right? I think we have with some of our current strategies is that we have these rear view metrics, right? We'll keep it in line with the theme of today's podcast.
Yeah.
Rear view metrics, right? I mean, last click leads and outdated attribution models. Let's just say what it is. It's outdated attribution. And that's keeping dealers stuck in this I got to buy engagement and not real results kind of a place. And I think that's what Alex is kind of talking about here, guys, is that we're just looking at just kind of stuff that's already happened, not stuff that's going to happen. So let's get into that, because that's what smart marketers are doing right now. Right, Alex?
Yeah, 100%. Everyone's trying to be a little bit smarter now. I think media costs have gotten every cost, right? We're all getting clubbed over the head with inflation and what's going on. And human capital costs and insurances and expenses. And from an operator standpoint, flooring, empathize with you all greatly in terms of some of the interest rate changes and what that's going on there in terms of your operation and cash flow. But back to the marketing angle, I think, when you look at forward thinking and predictive insights, there is so much digital data out there where you can start really getting a clear understanding of what your, let's say, customer acquisition funnel looks like. You probably already have this already, and there are tools within your GA4, whatever your chosen platform is, that you could look at and get a decent understanding of what's happening, what's going on moving forward. Problem is synthesizing all that information from all these disparate platforms that exist. It's a feat, and you know this well. There are teams of people in a room trying to figure out ways to synthesize, to get all these APIs to connect outside of Meta's perpetual updates on their API. And I won't even get into that parable, but it's a challenge. So if you're with a company who presently has a unified data strategy, will that help you? Absolutely. Is it cloud-based? Yes. And have they been working with it since the time GA4 kind of came through fruition? I think you're in a good spot to be able to kind of lean in and do some stuff that's forward thinking. Be happy to kind of share on how we get to ours, more or less, if you want to get into that, Jason.
Well, and I do. I mean, I think like uniform data sets is incredibly, but also just how quickly are they able to update those data sets? I think that's the other kicker too, right? I mean, look, I think as an industry, we've been told for a little over 5 years now that we got to be data first, data first, data first. I'm going to tell you guys right now, to effectively execute that, you need to have a partner. All right. I handled the marketing at my dealership. I couldn't do the level of analyzing and optimizing that these systems can do out there. I just can't. You got to find a partner out there that ultimately you're going to trust. All right. That's going to leverage predictive analytics. That's going to be that's going to have omnichannel data. Right. And you guys have channels. Yes. But we got to understand how those channels are working into each other. And, I mean, look, I'll give you guys just a quick real world example of this. I just recently bought a Silverado. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I didn't start shopping for a Silverado. That might surprise you. That might surprise a lot of people out there, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? You didn't start shopping? No, I didn't. All right.
Yeah.
There was a lot of research, video watching, article reading, talking to friends, looking at stuff that led me ultimately to then finding this vehicle. And I bought a truck not for the reason most people buy trucks. I bought a truck as a family vehicle.
Right.
So again, I'm a different, customer. And it's just like, I think let's do this. In your opinion, Alex, what is a forward-looking strategy? Let's go.
Yeah. I don't think you're a different customer by any means. I think you are the customer. You're the target market that the automotive industry is going after, right? And so the ideal omni-channel kind of platform setup, or at least strategy, and to be forward-looking is you have to use each channel. And let's just use a metaphor here. It's like each channel is a canvas in which you're going to paint on. And some of the canvases will have different materials and different, it'll be coarse, or one will be matte and the others. And so you're going to get a different image on each of these canvases. The key is to compartmentalize and divide each channel so that it has a specific use case. I'll break it down even further. Amazon, right? Look at the different facets and angles. You've got OTT, you've got CTV, you've got display, you've got Amazon app. Those are 4 different paintbrushes you can put on that canvas. Based on the way that you lay it out, Amazon could be an upper funnel, mid funnel approach. Then you look at Google. Maybe I'll use it strategically, tactfully in lower funnel and mid funnel. Then I look at TikTok, completely different. Now I'm in a younger audience set. They're going to be a little bit more information ADD in terms of where they're at. Now I'm going to use that in lower funnel, mid funnel, and upper funnel. And so you just continue on that path. And the way that this makes this predictive is once you create a classified system for all this, where not classified, but a classification system for all this, all the data point that comes through, you already know, this data point being extracted here is for upper funnel. This is mid, this is lower. And where they're at in the funnel, as soon as you start putting that together and reporting, you start to get an idea of where your customers are in real time. And I can get into the targeting in here in a second, but the key is seeing that flow in and out, week after week, month after month, where you're looking at your upper funnel and your lower funnels increasing and replenishing and increasing and replenishing. And that is where that sine wave or that sound wave comes to play.
Well, because it is consistently an ebb and flow. And, I mean, we talked a little bit about this earlier in the episode, right? Where, 99% of dealer marketing dollars are going to 3% to 3% of people that are trying to generate a lead or are
Correct.
going to ultimately generate a lead. And in fact, you're right. That number may actually be lower now. It
Yeah.
probably could be even closer to 1%, right? Everyone is focused just on this space. This leaves a monster amount, but there are people coming in and out of that funnel all the time.
That's right.
And the cost, I mean, I want to go there. Because I think dealers are going to, hey, this is a good idea, right? Let's talk a little bit about the cost benefits here, because there's some wildly large cost benefits of targeting the entire funnel and not just this very small little sliver where everybody is doing that. Can we talk a little bit about the cost of that?
Yeah. I think the cleanest way to explain it is your own shopping journey on the Silverado. I'm sure it was fragmented. It lasted many days, weeks, or months. You were probably upper funnel one day, lower funnel the next, mid funnel the other day, and you were all over the place. The benefit and cost comes from a thing called law of averages, which is essentially saying, like, let's take most of our counterparts out there, at least most dealerships. Say 90% of your budget is allocated. I'm not attacking Google here, but this is just fact. 90% of your budget's likely allocated into Google search. Great. Tactfully, at best, a mid-funnel, lower funnel strategy. However, you're missing all of the other points where these folks are out there researching, engaging, watching video, having experience like word of mouth marketing, whatever, right? And so when you look at the cost per thousand, and I think this is a staggering number not enough people talk about, the CPM in search is around $250. $250. Now that's prime time TV coverage to 50,000, 100,000 regionally. If you incorporate PMAX, YouTube, and all the other ancillary channels, you can probably get that down to around $47 to $50. Now let's carve that 90% budget and let's remove 40% of it, reallocate those funds into places where your CPM is now $3, $5, $7 per thousand. You have just significantly increased your reach without spending an extra dime. And that's kind of the premise of the omnichannel that we look at. Some folks get, and Jason, you've seen this, when you start talking about taking a $30,000, $50,000 search budget down to 15 or 20, you see the squirming happening at the desk, and it's an uncomfortable feeling because it's been happening for 15 years.
They're used to. That's right. That's what they're used to. By the way, I like to find rabbit holes, and I found one real quick as you were kind of talking.
Yeah.
I love the fact you brought up reach. Here's something for everybody out there watching and listening. This fundamentally has never changed. And a fundamental law of good marketing, all right, is reach and frequency and the balance of those two things. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're working with an agency or a partner and they're not effectively reporting on reach and frequency, fire them. And look, there could be a lot of other reasons you should probably get rid of them, but I'm just going to give you just this one tiny thing, because too often I have audited so many dealers come, well, we reached 250,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Really? One time?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. There's a law in good marketing. It has to be a combination of reach and frequency. Anyways, I apologize, Alex. I just have to
That's such a good rabbit hole to go down. Yeah, we throttle frequency either by day or by week, right? We want to make
sure. You have to, right? Like that's the best optimization.
Yeah, there's a point where you'll start annoying people, right? If you're at 24 per month, I'll back it off a little bit, unless it's retargeting and you have a really provocative message. But we try to keep it to around 6 per week. 6 per week, depending on the funnel. Upper funnels will try to keep it to about 3 per week, and we go from there. But yeah, absolutely great point in terms of reach and frequency. I think,
that's going to lower your
another rabbit hole for you, Jason. Digital has created laziness. Okay, so and here's the laziness. I'm going to use digital to pinpoint accuracy on who I want to target and why. However, you're missing all the other good stuff, right? And so you've gotten this laser focused strategy. And to your point on an unorthodox approach to purchasing, if I'm a Honda store and I'm only looking for Honda Civic intent, that's great to a certain extent in one layer of your facet. But what about the folks who want to switch from Toyota, Hyundai, Kia, Subaru, Ford, Chevy?
Alex, who builds a bad car these days? Nobody.
Right.
Right?
I mean, and you know this too. You used to sell cars. How many people would come in on a lead on a specific vehicle and walk out with that exact car? Very
come
few.
on. You tell me that happened?
Few, right? Let alone selling the ad car, right? Like you just don't do that. But it's there are, to your point, reach and frequency, it's blocking and tackling, it's 101. Have that there. Have good content, get it out into as many places as you can. Have some thought through it. To your point, use a partner in an agency who can compartmentalize this. Your lives are busy enough. So long as there's some trust, there'll be some good things that happen along the way.
Well, look, I mean, that's going to get people stuck from reacting and, really focusing on driving real demand. And, you can drive real demand when you're targeting full funnel. All right. You're talking with a healthy frequency and reach. All right. And you're using predictive, modeling to ensure that you're staying within the sphere that you're supposed to, and you're not bouncing all over the place. Real things happen. Okay. Let's get into this. This is a loaded question for you.
Hit me.
Why does this matter? Let's get into that. I mean, because I think a lot of times we talk about these like, yeah, this is a great idea, and this is awesome, and everybody needs to do this. But let's get into why does predictive strategies, unlock that new growth, and why does that matter for the dealerships out there that are watching and listening right now?
So couple answers on that. Let's start with the unlock new growth. Leveraging law of averages is going to unlock new audiences for you. So long as the message is good and clean, you're leveraging video in terms of format, you're adhering to all the algorithmic principles that you need to have for Meta and Instagram. They're all different formats, shapes, sizes, timeframes. You're going to reach new folks. It knows you're a dealership. It knows who you're trying to go out and attract. And so you will get in front of relevant eyeball at the auto intent level, which I think everyone needs to be given loyalty in the current industry and where it's at, right?
I love that you said that. Real quick, just for everybody out there listening, you guys have been told for years in market, auto intent, that needs to be a part of your marketing language. Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
No, you can't hit intent unless you have upper funnel strategies at play. And traditionally, you've got to spend thousands in content. We've solved for that, and I won't even get into that portion of it. But it's where the value is incremental reach. Where the actual growth starts to occur is in that incremental reach, right? If you're leveraging these platforms and channels correctly, what you're going to see is more reach, more frequency, more users, more returning users, more conversion, more engagement, and all of the things that need to come together to create a lead or to create a sale. There's 20 or 30 things that have to happen right for that sale to inevitably come together. And that's not discounting the men and women who have to put the F&I deal together, the salesperson who had to get this credit app done, the trade that they had to step all over themselves on. Right? So it's that whole omni-channel mix and strategy is really about leveraging the law of averages, getting out there, doing probably more with the same amount of money and investment that you have, increasing your whole ecosystem, and it's a rising tide. Right. So as users and good users, quality users come through, you will see a lift in all of the key points and key metrics that you're looking at in terms of measuring your analytics and marketing.
Well, and I know when we talk about this, I think for a lot of people out there watching and listening, you hear us talking, we're using a lot of sales analogies. Okay, we're talking a lot about the sales department. Okay. But, it's one thing to be omni-channel, 100%. We got to be omni-department.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is, I'm going to push back for everybody out there watching this. You got to find a partner that's not just focused on your sales. Okay. Because again, if you're really going to be taking advantage of every dollar spent, you got to look at the person that came in and bought an oil filter, is going to go home and do it themselves, right? You got to look at, the people that are currently servicing in your department. You got to think about the 60% of customers that are going to stop doing business with you once the warranty expires.
Oh, and it's
number, by the way, that's a national number. It blows my mind. But that is a national number, and we are losing 60%.
Nuts. And you look at those financial statements. Everyone should be well aware of what's going on. Service is the place you need to focus. And I don't think people are aware of how powerful and impactful true omnichannel can be for fixed. I mean, some of the numbers that we see: 36% repeat referral business in terms of coming back to the site over multiple months. we can track users for about 6 months, toying around with, do I schedule service? Do I not? Do I look at tires or parts? It's not and I get the 800-pound gorilla, which is it's a right now thing. My check engine light's on. I blew a tire. I need an oil change and I'm going to schedule it. There are people out there planning these things, especially in today's world. Cars are expensive, right? It's fix or flip right now. And I think a lot of folks are deciding fix versus flip.
Look, the age of the vehicles, and we see it in the registration data. I just recently did a podcast with Experian. They literally put it in their report, all right, that registration data is we're aging. Like, they're keeping vehicles longer, they're driving them longer, they're servicing them longer, right? These, I it could be a whole podcast, and sometimes I get too excited about this, but I'm like, look, I had a mentor many years ago when I first bought my first dealership. He looked me straight in the face and goes, Jason, you just need to sell 5,000 cars. I'm like, oh God, I hope over the career time I own this dealership, we sell more than 5,000. He's like,
Right.
No, you need to sell 5,000 and service the crap out of those.
Yeah.
And you will spend less money in acquisition than anybody else out there. And he was 100% right. He was 100% right. And it's just, and that needs to be a focus, not from an operations perspective, but that needs to be translated into our marketing as well. Anyways, I'll back up from there. I know we're getting towards the tail end of our time. I love talking about this, and I could talk about this a lot.
It's hard not to go on tangents because we've both been in the industry for a long time.
It is a really, really, really fun topic to talk about. And guys, I think we haven't covered everything. All right. So if you're out there watching and listening to this, we haven't covered everything. There's still probably a lot of conversation, to be had around this. Feel free, reach out to me. I want you to reach out to Alex. In fact, actually, for anybody out there watching and listening, Alex, who would love to connect with you and continue some part of this conversation, what's the best way for someone to connect with you, Alex?
Yeah, not a problem. Easiest way would be, head over to prophecydigital.com, reach out that way. You can find me on LinkedIn as Alex Motevosian. Find us. I'm going to put my contact information down here at the bottom in case anyone looking wants to take a quick snippet of it, but email and everything else will be down there. I just say prophecydigital.com is probably going to be the best place to go. And, we'd be looking forward to those conversations. To your point, Jason, plenty to talk about still. We didn't even scratch the surface on
this. Was a tiny little appetizer. But I hope this was a thought starter for a lot of you guys out there watching and listening. And speaking of a thought starter, all right, creating content like this takes time, and there's a lot of effort to put into it. But one of the biggest compliments you can give myself or Alex as a content creator is share the show. If you got an owner or a manager or a colleague or a friend that needs to listen to some portion of today's conversation to ensure that they're capitalizing on every single dollar humanly possible in their marketing efforts, share the show. It means a lot to us. It's literally the best compliment you can ever give us when you share the show. Alex, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me. I really, really, really appreciate it. Guys, real quick for everybody out there, next episode, is your marketing truly integrated or just fragmented? I know we talked a little bit about fragmented marketing today. We're going to dive deep into the next episode about how to truly make it integrated. Again, Alex, thank you so much for your time. For everybody out there watching, listening, we appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Modern Automotive Marketing, where modern marketing meets measurable results. From predictive insights to creative that actually converts, we're here to turn insight into action. Make sure to follow the show, share it with your team, and we'll see you in the next episode.